Agenda for what we'll cover. I know I had mentioned, high level. We'll start though with the Tag Audit Basics. So I want to take you through as a refresher. I know we've had some previous webinars and things on what are the basics and what's needed for a tag audit, but just want to walk through those real quick. Want to go through some of the necessary pieces of documentation. One thing that I'm seeing a lot here of late is people going into an audit with the wrong mindset and wanting to look at different things, as well as not really being organized in how they're collecting and then documenting all the information that's gained, which then makes it so much more difficult down the road as you're trying to actually do something with the data and the insights that you're able to glean from a tag audit. So we'll go through some of that necessary documentation. I'll then hop over into the Tag Inspector UI so we can go through scan reports, show exactly where you can find the information that I'll reference in the basics and the documentation, as well as then go into Tag Inspector real time to show exactly how you can get some of that more granular information around data that's being collected, tag information from a latency performance standpoint, that sort of thing. So at the end, we'll do a quick summary and QA. As always, if you have questions, just drop them into the GoToWebinar panel. More than happy to answer those at the end. We'll cover all those at that point. So as far as tag audit basics, so the three things that you're really wanting to look at and what you're wanting to focus on going into this process. So first piece is obviously understanding the current landscape. So understanding what tags are on the site, how are these different tags loading, what data is being collected. But we want to have the foresight to think about, okay, what questions are we trying to answer with this audit? I come across a lot of clients that initially they'll be going into an audit. I want to collect and know everything that's going on the site. Well, while possible, it's not practical. It's not going to help you get to that future state in the most efficient manner. So when going into an audit, think about what the goal is. Is the goal to make sure that analytics is tracking as it should be? Are you doing an audit for a performance initiative? And as part of that, you're trying to clean up all the different tags platforms on the site. Are you going into it from a security or from a governance standpoint, wanting to make sure that unauthorized tags aren't loading on the site anywhere and collecting unauthorized or unallowed information? Have that in mind as you're trying to piece together and put together documentation for the current landscape. The next piece of that is identifying where the gaps are. So where are the gaps between the information that you're able to find and what your goal state is and where you stand right now. So identifying where those different areas of improvement are, but also here is working with the business side of things. It's not just technical, let me get all of the information, all the tags, all the data points in like some massive spreadsheet. While I know we all love spreadsheets, it's not useful. So identify what are the needs of the business. If you're going into a tag audit because you're trying to enhance or clean up your analytics data, where are the problems? Is it different things that, oh, I wish I could see this in reports, but I can't because we're not collecting the data? Is it, I have these reports, I know we collect this information, but it doesn't feel right or it doesn't look to be accurate? What are those gaps? What's going on right now? What is it that we need to focus on and really look at and drill down into with that audit process? And then the third state, like I mentioned, the future state, where do we need to get to? So start out high level. This is what's going on the site at a very basic level of these are the tags, this is the coverage, this is how they're loading. And then based upon those future states and those goals, dig down deeper. Get deeper into, okay, in my purchase funnel, am I collecting the information that I should be collecting? Or on my confirmation page, are there only authorized tags loading, and are all those authorized tags only collecting the information that they should be, as opposed to going into it with the mindset of low level, I need to collect everything and then we'll figure out what to do with it. Not nearly as actionable. So touching on that, just briefly again, the questions. Questions that you're asking when going into the specific audit process. What's here? What tags are on my site? How are they getting there? If it's something that's allowed, is it loading from the page? Is it loading through a tag management system? Is it piggybacking? And is that then the required or the allowed behavior? Once you have that full list and you understand what's there, determining, are all these tags necessary? Should this be on the site? Should it not? Is it something that marketing tried out in June of last year in a pilot, and the tag and the platform's still there loading on the site? And then once you sift through all the stuff that you don't really want to worry about, don't want to focus on, identify for those critical tags, is each working properly? This is going to mean different things for different tags. And that's why I always say, as opposed to going into it and thinking, are all my tags working properly? Is everything perfect? Identify, okay, these are the critical things. Start with these. Is this working properly in whatever context it is that you're needing to look at? So is analytics always collecting confirmation information? Are my critical tags that I have within my checkout flow on an e-commerce site, or that should be firing on a lead generation or contact page, are those working properly? Are they collecting the data points that they need to be collecting, and are they always firing? Those sorts of things are what's going into a tag audit. So we know what goes into it. We know what we're looking for. What does this look like? And thinking about the structure of the data and how you're going to want it to be sitting in on the tail end when you come out of this audit process, so it can be actionable for ongoing, for addressing some of these different issues that are highlighted, is thinking about this necessary documentation. So to start, what we're going to need is an overall inventory. This looks, I know, a little bit overwhelming, and all of it can come from the Tag Inspector scan reports, which I'll show you here shortly. But what you're going to need, you want a list of all the different tags that are on the website, what they are, categories, subcategories, so you can identify if it's something that's old or something that you're not really familiar with. What is it? What's the purpose? You want to know how it's being initiated. So is it loading, again, from the page, from your tag management system? Is it loading through a different tag? This is going to give you some insight, one, into what it's doing, but two, if it is something that shouldn't be there, this is how you can determine that action to take. How can I remove it? Is it something as quick and easy as turning off a firing rule or a trigger within your tag management system, publishing an update? Or is it something that you're going to have to get your development team, your development agency involved in removing from the page? So the inventory is the first step. Do the scan, which I'll show you again, and then go through this, work through it with the business to identify what should be here, what shouldn't be here, what's required, what's critical, and then focusing your deeper efforts and your lower level efforts on those critical items. The next thing is, for those critical items, really getting down deep into what are the requirements. If you have, and when I say a critical tag or a critical platform, typically I'm talking about analytics, or if it's your marketing team and you have a huge advertising spend with a particular display vendor, or with big initiative around remarketing, so you just implemented like Criteo or something like that, or even if you have a lot of money going to social, so Facebook pixels and Facebook advertising might be huge on your website. But identifying what those critical tags are and then dig down deep into those. So this is documentation, and actually comes from some of the implementation request documents that we help clients put together. But getting this information in this context for these critical platforms. So what is it? Who owns it? What brand, if you're a multi-brand organization, is really interested in this? Who's the partner that is responsible for this? If we need an update to an ID, or if there's ever some sort of issue, who needs to be notified? Or who can I get implementation instructions for? That sort of thing. In addition, then we need these critical data points. So the tag, the name. What pages should it be on? Should it be everywhere? Should it just be on a cart page, a shopping page, a product page, a content page? Knowing where it should be so that we can compare that requirement to the results of our audit and what we have and what we've identified within that inventory and within our reports. What should it be firing on? It should be loading on event interactions because we're trying to collect information about a form submit or a contact us submit or a purchase. The actual script that you should have, tags get updated all the time. A lot of people are now moving to serving their tags via their own, CDN. One, it has some performance benefits, but also they're able to then make updates and change their tag dynamically, and then it's automatically updated on your site. You don't have to go through the whole implementation process again. So you still want to know what the script should look like, just for the more technical teams. So they always have access to that. If there is an issue, they can cross-reference with that to see, isn't maybe a problem that happened in implementation. But at the same time, you want to be able to know, okay, is it a CDN? If it's a governance use case, when you're doing this audit and you identify tags that are loading on there, it could change. If they can dynamically update their script and then serve it on your website, there could begin to be third parties that are then piggybacking off of them. They get wrapped up within that script. So being cognizant of that. Also, key to understand what data attributes are required. A lot of the information that you're going to gather in your audit gets down to those requests. So what data is being passed, and is it complete? Is it accurate? Is everything that should be there actually there? And then any general information to supplement that. So that's high level what we need for this audit. So we need to understand, okay, what are we looking for? Why are we doing an audit? We need to understand what that end state is. So what's the goal? We need to understand then what it is that we specifically want to be looking at, and then we can start getting into the full audit process. So as far as the process goes, I'm going to go through here just how to use Tag Inspector specifically in order to be able to inform that documentation, inform your reports, and then inform the process moving forward to get to Tag Bliss. So let me just hop over here. The first thing, and this is just piggybacking on that idea of the inventory. So this is just quickly threw it together an inventory example. So like I showed within the slide, you can have your tag name, your category, your subcategory, initiating tag. So where is it being loaded from? And then coverage, how many pages is it on? But also then adding in this additional context to your inventory report. So who's the business owner? Go through, once you run a Tag Inspector scan and you can fill out these first A through F columns, it then turns around and goes internally to the business, okay? So who owns this platform? If no one owns it, why is it there? If it's not in use, again, why is it there? So we can identify what needs to be removed. You can identify if there's an agency partner working with it. A lot of times we'll go through this exercise just at a super high level. First thing that we'll do, put together this inventory, start identifying, oh, hey, yeah, that tag was requested or required from our previous media agency that we haven't worked with in 2 years. So then we can go through and get to, has it been approved? Has it been vetted? Get to these final columns of keep it, remove it, or is it loading in the right way? Should it be migrated to a tag management system? You'd be shocked, even just looking at a high level, the amount of things that you're able to remove from your website going through this exercise. Typically, we'll see at least 4, 5, 6 platforms that are removed like from the TMS or from the page. And then as an extension of that, a lot of those tags that are going to be removed are going to have other third parties that are piggybacking off of them. So the true effect of the high level audit here, inventory report, and then walking through what should be there, what shouldn't be there for round 1 of cleanup is huge. And it's really the low-hanging fruit of the entire process. So the question here is, how do we inform this? How do we gather this information? Especially even this small example of 622 pages scans, or 622 pages on the site. It's not something that we can manually go through. So that's where the Tag Inspector comes in. So hopping in here, to our Tag Inspector scan reports. When you run a scan, and as long as you have enough pages to cover the entire site, or set it up with when you're setting up a scan to run 5-6 different scans across different sections of your site, which you can do, you're going to have all this information here just plainly within the Tag Inspector scan report. So we're going to list out all the different tags that are found, number of pages they're on, how the tags are loading, pages containing, pages missing, the whole nine. So everything that's in that inventory, I'm getting just straight from these scan reports. Now, you can export all from the UI, or if you're having issues at all ever with exporting all, just let me know. We can always export it directly from the database. And we can provide you just a readout that has all the raw data for this. So list it out, you do a couple of quick little things within the spreadsheet, and you're going to have this inventory, A through F. You can then turn around and internally supplement with the rest of the information and start getting pretty far in that audit process. So how does this work? You have all this information, yes. So what I'm talking about is obviously initiating a scan of your entire website so you can get a holistic look. If you're, depending upon whatever your account limits are, you might just be able to enter in the URL. If you have XML sitemaps that break up the site, you can enter those in here, or you can apply some of our advanced options here in order to scan specific pages to break it up. So regardless, at the end of the day, you're going to want a holistic look of the site, be it one scan, be it multiple scans, so that we can consolidate all that information here into a tag inventory report. Step one, like I mentioned then, running the scan. Step two, then walking through this, identifying what should be, what shouldn't be there, and then identifying what's critical. So what are my top 5 tags, right? So I have analytics, my display vendor, whoever I'm running remarketing through, it might be AdWords or Facebook are also really critical. Once you identify those, then it's time to start digging down into those tags specifically and making sure that those are operating as they should be, one, and two, collecting complete and accurate information. And this is where you get more into the low level of the audit. So let's just take, say, Google Analytics here as an example. So it's my analytics platform. We're making a lot of our decisions in terms of acquisition, so where to spend money in order to be able to acquire people and bring them to the site. We're making user experience decisions based upon data, what type of content, what different areas of the site are people engaging with. And then we're also reporting on. So to my senior management, we're reporting on revenue, we're reporting on number of conversions, those sorts of things. And all of that's coming from and being derived from the data within Google Analytics. So critical that I have, one, this tag deployed across every single page, and two, tracking all the events that I need and collecting complete information on those events. So I identify something like that. I have my requirements, right? So I know it because either I know or people on the team, on your team, are going to know what reports are they using. What aspects of the site are people asking about? Those are the requirements that you're going to want to check against. I always advise people, figure out what's critical, figure out what's actually in use, figure out what is going to move the dial, and then audit against that. As opposed to going in and just being able to provide, again, that full list of, okay, this is everything that's being tracked. This is all the data that's being collected. Is this complete? Is it accurate? Well, who knows, right? And you maybe took 2 weeks digging through analytics data and digging through tag data to pull out and be able to show, okay, we're tracking all these events that no one's even using. So it's a waste. Identify what is in use, what is critical, and then audit against it. For that specifically, that's where our Tag Inspector, the real time, module really comes in. So within real time, we can go down to, for an individual page, for an individual event. You can go down, you can identify, okay, what are the tags that are loading? What is the data that's being collected on those? So I'm just going to show you an example here. As far as navigating through real time, everything's here on the left-hand side. But if you go into the pages report, and one way that is super, super useful for auditing purposes. So I know are you kidding me? All right, sorry about that. I think we're going in and out with connection here, but looks like we're back. So within the real-time reporting, and it might have been a little glitchy there. What I was referring to is once we identify the tags that are critical, once we identify the data points that should be and have to be within those tags and collected by those tags, that's when we can get into looking at the low level of, on a specific page, is that tag firing? Is it collecting the information that it should be? Simple. I have my requirements. I want to audit against it. So within real time, I can do that within reporting. So I can come in and for a specific page, say I'm on an e-commerce site. Kidding me? Hello? This is... Hello? All right. All right. Very sorry about that. It looks like the connection, for whatever reason, is kind of going in and out for me. Let's see if it's back. Pause. Oh, okay. So sorry about that. It looks like the connection's going in and out on me for some reason. But we are back. Thank you for those who have stuck around. But we are back on when looking at the real-time data, which is what we were going through. Being able to go through the reporting and identify, okay, for specific pages, for specific interactions, am I in fact collecting all the information that I should be? Everything that the business needs and that I've defined within my requirements. So in order to do that, I can come in here in the pages report within real time. In real time, we're collecting live tag data. So when a user comes, hits a page, and clicks on add to cart, we're recording the tag behavior in that scenario. So you can actually come in and see, okay, on this page for this user, when they clicked add to cart, what happened? What tags fired? What data was collected? So in the pages report, I can come in and see, okay, for a product page, what is analytics collecting? On my checkout page, what is analytics collecting? On my content page or on a form submission page, what is my analytics, or what are these different tags collecting? How are they behaving? So I come in, I can search for an individual page. I identify the page that I want to take a look at. And then for that page, I'm going to have every single page load that has happened there. So I can see, how are tags behaving for users coming from a particular country or using a particular browser type, or with a certain performance scenario. So I go into the individual page load, and then I can see the tag activity that occurred in that particular instance. So for here that I'm showing here, for a user on the 22nd, a few hours ago, on the contact us page of our InfoTrust LLC website, they were coming from the United States. Took about 4.5 seconds for the page DOM to complete. This is a list of all the hits that were sent by the different tags. So if I want to see, okay, what is Google Analytics tracking? I come in here, I can identify a hit, and I can see the parameters. So what values, what variables are being collected? I can then document all of this information for those critical tags, for those major areas, and then compare it to the results. So when we talked about originally, identifying the current state provides you all that context right here. Identifying your future state or your goal state, that's what you're defining with the business. And then seeing what that gap is. So being able to identify what are the steps that I need to take to get from where I am now to my ideal happy place. All that's available here within these Tag Inspector reports. We can also do some custom reporting if you have a specific audit goal or working on a specific audit initiative. Let us know. We might be able to put together some custom reports to fully automate a lot of that process for you as well. So that's how you can collect that information. It's how you can search through using a combination of the scan reports for high level, identifying your game plan, if you will, and then hopping into on a more low level real time to see what are the specifics. What are for the tags that I've identified as critical that should be here? What are they doing now? What's missing? We can also create some validations and take this entire process and what you're doing here and then apply it to ongoing validations, which is something that we'll cover in a later webinar. So quickly to go back and just kind of summarize and recap. Went through the tag audit process, everything that is going to be required, identifying what tags are there, where are they, how are they loading, what should be here, what shouldn't be here, how should they be loading, what's required, what's critical, what data points do I need. Identify all those things up front. That's some work that you can do with one, Tag Inspector scan reports to inform an inventory, but then internally, really identify what is the end state, what is the end goal. Take that information and then dig down deeper using the Tag Inspector real-time and the Tag Inspector reporting. You can manually go through and take a look at some of the different tags, but using that more low-level information to fill in the gaps once you've developed that overall framework is really the key with audits. And I hope that this has helped you to identify, one, what's necessary, but two, also how Tag Inspector, specifically, how Tag Inspector would apply to those. So again, apologize for the technical difficulties. I will hop over here and jump into the questions. Most of these are comments regarding the technical difficulties, but so one question here, great question. How can we use this in daily activity? So A couple different things. One, we have a number of clients, especially on the agency side, that will start productizing the service of tag audits. So being able to work with clients to go through, and it really depends upon what your specialty and what your focus is, as to what the focus would be. Is it a tag audit for the purpose of performance fixing? Is it a tag audit for the purpose of identifying coverage of tags, just making sure at a high level what is your analytics double counting potentially because it's deployed in different aspects. So that's one way I'm really incorporating this into daily activity. The second piece is following the actual audit, is taking the information that you have collected within the audit, as well as that business insight for what should be and what has to be happening on the site, and turning that into ongoing validations and ongoing monitoring. That's where, from the day to day, I mean, honestly, you never want to be in a state of perpetual audit. And I see that a lot with clients. You want to do a very thorough, very good job of the audit up front, very thorough, very good job of identifying that end state, testing throughout, but getting to that end state and then just validating against it and monitoring to make sure as to what's going on a site. So I hope that is helpful. Okay. It looks like all the questions today. I know we went a couple minutes over. Typically, our product training webinars here will be just 30 minutes. Next week, we have more of an educational webinar. It'll be an hour long, where we're going to go through just the tag management space. A lot's changed in the last couple of years. We just want to offer a quick high-level run-through of the major players, what the landscape currently looks like, what are some of the differences between the different platforms, as we have a lot of clients and a lot of people that I talk to just in general curious about what is going on. So I will be back with that next week. If you have any questions or need anything in the meantime, please let us know. We will be sending out a recording as well as the slide deck here, as long as hopefully the recording cooperated with the technical issues. But we'll be sending that out here also, either later today or tomorrow. But yeah, let us know if we can help out in any way. In the meantime, thank you all very much for joining, and enjoy scanning. Thank you.